Travis Pastrana is a bona fide action sports legend, a freestyle motocross pioneer, a fearless stuntman, a godlike motorsports icon, and just one radical dude. For more than 3 decades, Travis Pastrana's body of work is a huge catalog of chaos, filled with unexplainable feats of human achievement, death-defying spectacles, superhuman levels of pain tolerance, and more holy moments than any athlete in history. But above all, Travis Pastrana is a miracle. He was an amateur motocross champion at age 7. He was chucking 120-foot gaps with the infamous Crusty Demons of Dirt crew when he was 12, and he won an XGames gold medal in freestyle motocross when he was 15. In addition to that, he's an AMA outdoor motocross champion, a 125 Eastern Supercross champion, a 4-time Rallycross champion, an offshore powerboat champion. He's a 5 times Gravity Games medalist, a 17 times X Games medalist, and he raced in the Daytona 500, the 24 Hours of Daytona, the Ayresburg Rodeo, and in the Trophy Truck Series. And that's just his day job. In his spare time, he launches himself into the air with homemade rockets, jumps fountains at Caesar's Palace, flips monster trucks, jumps vehicles onto moving barges, base jumps off of skyscrapers, flips dirt bikes between tall city buildings, and jumps out of airplanes without a parachute. And somehow in between all of this, he finds enough time to run a traveling stunt show called the Nitro Circus, where they do everything from van jumps to wheelchair flips. But this livin' La Vida Loca lifestyle has come with a hefty price tag. It's estimated that Travis Pastrana has broken upwards of 60 bones in his body, had an uncountable amount of surgeries, and he probably hasn't had a pain-free day in his life since he was 3 years old. Yet none of this has done anything to slow this man down. Instead, it's only enhanced the legend of Travis Pastrana. He won an X Games gold medal in freestyle motocross just months after having a set of screws holding his pelvis and spine together. He competed in a rallycross event with hand controls because he broke his leg a few days earlier and couldn't use his foot to shift gears. And today, at 40 years old, he's out doing some backflip to front flip stunt combo. This man is legit. And that's why we love him. So in today's video, we'll take a look at the extraordinary life and the personality of the action sports legend, motorsports icon, and stuntman extraordinaire, Travis Pastrana. It was apparent from a young age that Travis Pastrana was destined to become a motorsports legend, because if it had a motor on it, he wanted a piece of it, and he wanted to push its boundaries. At age 2, he was knocking down walls with a bulldozer. By age 3, he's racing around on go-karts, and by age 4, he's already on a motorcycle. Now, it's obvious that driving bulldozers, racing go-karts, and riding dirt bikes are not your typical preschool activities. And that's because most parents are just not comfortable with their children operating things that come with a motor. But for Travis's parents, Robert and Debbie Pastrana, they would choose to take a more unconventional approach to parenting. Their goal was to support Travis's aspirations and abilities, even if that meant embracing risks along the way. They would routinely encourage him to think outside of the box, to forge his own path, regardless of how unconventional it may be, and he was always given the room he needed to make mistakes and learn. This instilled into a young Travis that anything in life you want, nothing can stop you from having it. And this gave him the mental strength he would need to tackle the many challenges he would face in life. But when it comes to where he got his extraordinary boldness from, well, look no further than his father, Robert. Travis's father, Robert, is one extreme individual himself. He's a Vietnam veteran, a former Marine Corps drill sergeant, and he grew up with 5 competitive brothers that never backed down from any challenges. And for the Pastranas, their motto is if something is doable, well, then you do it. And if you open your mouth and you say that you're going to do it, well, you best back it up and do it. As Travis's father said in the documentary 199 Lives, if something is doable, then why not do it? Consequences be damned. Just go. It's got to be worth it. And well, that sums up Travis. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. Now, lucky for all of us, that thing that Travis wanted to do was ride and race dirt bikes. So at the tender age of 5, Travis is already out there racing mini bikes. Now at first, it's just a hobby for the family and not much is expected from him. But it wouldn't take long for his natural prowess on a motorcycle to start shining through. The things that he was able to do on a motorcycle far exceeded his years, and at that time the Pastrana family made a bold decision to fully commit to his racing. Now competing at any level in motocross does not come cheap. Just getting a kid to the mid-pack level demands a monumental investment of both time and money from every member of the family. Now for the Pastranas, they were not immune to these expenses either. As Travis's father said in the documentary 199 Lives, as this thing started progressing, we started getting second mortgages on the home, and third mortgages, and fourth mortgages. After a while, it was mortgaged all the way completely out. Motorhome payments kept coming in, and it kept escalating. Money got tight. My brothers and all, the entire family said, spend the money, spend the company's money. Do what you can to support Travis. And fortunately for them, that support paid off, because Travis kept winning races. His superior talent and his bravery to go big on every motocross track got him a support deal with Suzuki Motorcycles to ease some of the financial burden for the Pastranas. And he rewarded Suzuki by collecting 5 amateur national championships and even 2 Canadian titles. And by his early teens in the late 1990s, Travis had already amassed every prestigious amateur title conceivable, cementing his status as motocross's next big up-and-coming superstar. With his clean-cut, golly gee whiz, somewhat dorky demeanor, Travis was poised to catapult motocross into the mainstream. But the universe had other ideas, because the motorcycle gods would swoon in with an act of divine intervention that would launch Travis into a realm of superstardom unparalleled by any other amateur racer before him, and in the process, alter the course of motorcycle history as we know it and lay the foundation for Travis Pastrana to become one of the greatest action sports athletes of all time. In the late 1990s, the dirt bike world was undergoing a massive change. Actually, it was more like an uprising. Fueled by a series of independent underground-style films like the legendary Crusty Demons of Dirt, Fox's Terra Firma, Moto XXX, and many others that turned us on to this whole new world of freestyle motocross. Those films showed us a side of the motorcycling world that we had never seen before. And man, let me tell you, what a world it was. Where motocross was like the narrator and the Fight Club, freestyle motocross was Tyler Durden. And what a time it was to be alive. Anyway, if you owned a dirt bike in the late 1990s, you had a Crusty Demons of Dirt tape. Simply put, it was a prerequisite. And Travis was one of those kids who had a dirt bike and a Crusty Demons of Dirt tape. So as the story goes, one day while he's out practicing at a Florida motocross track, he notices that off in the distance is the Crusty Demons crew of Dana Nicholson, John Freeman, Bubba, Seth Enslow, and many others. And they're building this nice-sized jump over a gator pond. And when Seth Enslow comes up short on the jump, Travis Pastrana realizes this is his chance to impress his idols. So he goes over to the Crusty crew and he says that he can easily jump this. So they let him, and he does it. And not only does he do it, he tosses a hill clicker in for good measure. They were so impressed by a 12-year-old Travis Pastrana that they begged his parents to allow them to take him to California so they could put him in Crusty Demons of Dirt 3. And being the supportive parents that the Pastranas were, they allowed that to happen, and as we say, the rest is history. Now, the talent that Travis had and the stunts that he would perform on those tapes and the success of the Crusty Demons of Dirt series made Travis Pastrana a superstar. But there was a problem with that. Back in those days, the professional motocross series, the manufacturers and the sponsors of that series loathed freestyle motocross and everything that it stood for. And the last thing big manufacturers like Suzuki wanted was Travis Pastrana out there competing in freestyle motocross. Suzuki didn't want their bike anywhere near that freestyle movement, and they didn't want Travis getting hurt. Suzuki tried everything in their power to discourage him from competing in freestyle motocross. But it would be Travis's parents again that would stand up to Suzuki and tell them, Travis is our kid. We can tell him he can't do freestyle motocross, but you can't. Now, at the time, this is a savage move because Travis is set to make millions of dollars as a professional. And at that time, there wasn't very much money at all in freestyle motocross. And Suzuki could have cut him on the spot for breach of contract, and the Pastranas would have lost everything. Fortunately, Suzuki kept him. However, their worst fears would be realized when at a freestyle contest in Lake Havasu, Arizona, during a practice session, Travis would come up short on a jump and smash into the face of the landing. The impact was so brutal, his spine shattered through his pelvis. As Travis was quoted saying in an interview about that injury, "When I had just turned 15, I separated my spine from my pelvis. I was only the third known person to have suffered that injury, and the other two were both paralyzed. I was very lucky. I was in a wheelchair for 5 months and I bled out over half my body's blood in the first week. So I had to have multiple blood transfusions to stay alive. Even then I was thinking, I can't wait to get out of this wheelchair so I can go ride." And ride, he would. Roughly 6 months later, with 2 rods connecting his pelvis and spine together, he would go out and win a freestyle motocross gold at the 1999 X Games. This was the first year that freestyle motocross was featured at the X Games, and Travis would punctuate that victory and send a statement to the rest of the world on what freestylers were all about, when on his final run he would launch his bike into the San Francisco Bay, a move that would get him into serious trouble with the city of San Francisco and environmentalists, leading Travis to being stripped of his $10,000 prize money. And while the city of San Francisco might have been pissed off, the fans were not. That stunt was the highlight of X Games that year, and since it's become one of the most iconic X Games moments in history. And if that wasn't enough, just a few weeks later, Travis goes out and collects another amateur national championship and would add a Gravity Games gold medal in freestyle motocross as well. Not bad for a 15-year-old kid who was confined to a wheelchair 6 months earlier. So in early 2000, Travis Pastrana would make his much-anticipated professional racing debut in the 125 East Regional Supercross Series in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the hype was huge for this kid. Fans came out in record numbers to witness the phenom himself. And let's just say, Travis was simply Travis. Now, history will record his finish that evening as 4th, but that's far from the real story. Travis Pastrana was blazing fast, and his whoop speed, which would become a staple for him in Supercross, was simply unreal. Nobody had ever seen anyone on a 125 hit whoops like that. But he wasn't just fast, he was ragged. And he almost gave everyone in the crowd about a dozen heart attacks, including team manager Roger DeCoster. Because on the parade lap, he does this freestyle trick over a huge jump to amp up the fans, and he crashes into a tough block and he tweaks his bike and his thumb. When he brings the bike back to the starting grid, his team gets into this mad scramble to make sure that he didn't damage the bike and he's okay to ride. In spite of all that pre-race drama, Travis jumps out to an impressive 3rd place start, and man, is he flying. A few laps in, he makes a pass for 2nd place and cleans out himself and Brock Sellers. The two would remount and charge back up towards the front, when later Travis Pastrana would smash into Brock Sellers again. And every time Travis is riding on the ragged edge, doing these radical moves and these crazy passes, the camera keeps panning over to team manager Roger DeCoster, and he looks like he's gonna have a stroke at any minute watching this kid. And a few laps later, Travis goes down again, and there's Roger DeCoster, one step away from his grave. But Travis would remount one more time, and he'd spend those remaining laps just trying to hold on until he stumbled across the finish line in an impressive 4th place. It was the most epic 4th place finish I have ever seen. Now, Michael Brandis and his Wolverine chops, remember those things? Would win the race that evening, but it would be Travis Pastrana who stole the show. He proved to everyone that he had the speed to become a title threat. A few rounds later, he would collect his very first Supercross win in Daytona, pick up another win at St. Louis, and finish out the year by winning the East-West Shootout. When it was all said and done, Travis would finish that first 125 East Regional Supercross Championship in 3rd place, only 6 points shy of champion Stefan Roncada. Even though Travis didn't win the Supercross title in his rookie season, there was no doubt he was the main draw. He got the most media coverage, his autograph lines were the longest, and every pass, every jump, or every legendary save that he made, the crowd would erupt in cheers. Travis was the show. Now, when the outdoor season came around, it got off to a rough start for Travis, but just 4 rounds in, he would grab his first outdoor victory at the Southwick National, and 1 month later, he would get another victory at Washougal and back that victory up with another win at the following round in Millville. After the win in Millville, Pastrana is on fire. He's won 3 straight races and now finds himself in contention for the outdoor title against Stefan Roncada with only 2 rounds remaining. Now, winning a national title carries a hefty bonus from the manufacturers and sponsors because this is what racing is all about. Sure, the wins are great, but the goal for every manufacturer is a championship. And depending on the structure of a rider's contract, those championship bonuses can stretch into the 7 figures. So you would think with all of this money and prestige on the line, that maybe Travis might slow it down a bit, not do anything silly to jeopardize that mega payday. Well, you thought wrong, because just 1 week later, even though there's millions of dollars and a national title on the line for Travis, he shows up at the X Games to compete in a freestyle motocross contest that has a $10,000 purse. Now, luckily for Suzuki, Roger DeCoster, and the fans, Travis was flawless at the X Games and wins another gold medal in freestyle motocross. And a few days later, he shows up at the Broome Tioga National and wins both of the races, narrowing the points gap in the championship to just 6 points with only 1 round remaining. And as we reach the season finale in Steel City 2 weeks later, it's now a winner-take-all race for the championship between Travis Pastrana and Stefan Roncada. Travis would rise to the occasion and win both of the motos that day and take the 2025 Outdoor National Championship as a rookie. But wait, there's obviously a lot more. You will often hear motorsport athletes talk about the stress of clinching a championship and how the last few laps before clinching that title are some of the most mentally brutal moments of their career. They often start hearing funny engine noises and panic that maybe their machine will fail them before they make it to the finish line. They worry that maybe another competitor might crash into them, causing them to lose out on the championship. And look, that stuff has happened before. That's why they say these are the longest and hardest laps of their career. But do you think Travis Pastrana's nervous? Hell no, or he certainly doesn't show it, because on the last lap before he's ready to clinch the title, while every other rider in history is riding on eggshells nursing their machines to the finish line, Travis decides to do freestyle tricks on the last lap. Now you see why we love him so much, and Suzuki and Roger DeCoster can't sleep at night. This kid is such a savage. That outdoor title would secure Travis a place alongside Ryan Hughes and Ricky Carmichael on Team America for the Motocross des Nations that would be held that year in France. Now, the Motocross des Nations is like the Olympics of motocross, and by far it's the biggest motocross race in the world. And on that day in France, Ricky Carmichael would take a first and a second, Ryan Hughes would take a first and a third, and Travis would take a second and a third, and Team America would clinch the 2000 Motocross des Nations Championship, capping off a historical season for Travis, where he won an outdoor national title, an X Games gold medal in freestyle motocross, and a Motocross des Nations championship. At the start of 2001, Travis would be contesting his second East Regional Supercross Championship. He would win the season opener at Indianapolis, then go on to put in a dominating performance, winning 5 of the 7 rounds that season to clinch the 2001 East Regional Supercross title. Now, at that time, that made Travis the youngest regional Supercross champion in history until James Stewart broke that record in 2002 at 16 years old. And not only that, he somehow found enough time during that year to release his very own freestyle film called Revelation 199. I mean, this kid is simply unstoppable. And by the time we've reached the start of the 2001 outdoor motocross season that summer, even though Travis is still a young kid according to his birth certificate, when it comes to the motorcycling world, he is the man. He's now a progressive film star, a 2-time X Games gold medalist, a Gravity Games gold medalist. He's undefeated in freestyle motocross. He's an outdoor motocross champion and a regional supercross champion, all by the time he's reached the age age of 17. So the consensus is Travis is going to walk the competition, even though 125 world motocross champion and South African legend Grant Langston would be making his much anticipated American debut. The consensus is this is Travis's title to lose. And at the beginning of the season, the consensus was right because Travis won half the races by the midway point, and after a dominating first moto win at round 7 in Unadilla, the title is Travis's to lose, and unfortunately, he would lose it, when in the blink of an eye, he would lose control over a jump and slam himself into the ground. The impact would be so violent it would knock him out cold. Now, he would make a valiant return to the next race at Troy, Ohio, but it was obvious that he was far from being 100%. Still, under the circumstances, he managed to finish a respectable 8th place. So there was still hope that Travis could recover soon and get back in the title hunt. But at the next round, he would violently crash again, knocking himself out cold for a second time. And that crash would end up costing him his 2001 outdoor motocross campaign, as he would be forced to pull out of the series. Yet in spite of suffering back-to-back concussions and having a premature end to his motocross campaign, somehow a month later he was able to compose himself enough and go out to win a 3rd XGames gold medal in freestyle motocross. And at this point in time, he's still the only person to win the freestyle motocross event at the XGames. But it would also be around this time that talk would start to swirl within the media and the motorcycling community that maybe freestyle motocross is becoming too much of a distraction for Travis, and that his grueling travel and training schedule is spreading him too thin, and this could be the reason for many of his crashes. But all it was just talk, because Travis isn't concerned with any of that chatter, because Travis is going to do what Travis is going to do. Now, in 2002, Travis would be moving up to the 250cc class in Supercross, a class that included two of the greatest motocrossers that have ever walked the face of this earth, Jeremy McGrath and Ricky Carmichael. Now, Travis would crash out of the season opener in Anaheim, but at round 2 in San Diego, he would whole shot the main event and fist pump the crowd on the first lap and go on to finish that race in a very respectable 2nd place. He would back up that 2nd place with a 3rd at Anaheim 2, then another 2nd place at the Phoenix round, and after the opening 5 rounds of the series, Travis finds himself right in the thick of the championship hunt. His tall, lanky figure is perfect for the larger and more powerful 250, and that whoop speed of his is simply insane. And also, like the other competitors who look so serious and focused all the time, Travis looks like he's out there having the time of his life. This guy never has a frown on his face. He's always in such a good mood. And at this point, he's living up to every lofty expectation that's been set forth. But just like the 2001 outdoor season, things are about to unravel quickly. He was leading the race at Indianapolis until Ricky Carmichael punted him into the dirt and he finished 8th place. He landed on Mike LaRocco at Minneapolis and broke LaRocco's arm, and Mike LaRocco was so angry at Travis he confronted him and he looked like he was going to punch him right there on TV, but probably realized that Travis is still a minor. And at the next round in Atlanta, Travis has a severe case of the flu, and while running in 3rd place, he pulls off of the track because he's too weak to continue. Then at Daytona, he was running in 2nd place right behind the GOAT Ricky Carmichael, but crashed out midway through the race and injured himself bad enough to end his 2002 Supercross season. So it's obvious at this point that speed is not Travis's problem. He's got plenty of that. Staying upright is. And while this win it or bin it riding style is a dream for the fans to watch, it's a nightmare for Travis. Because if he can find some way just to dial it down and stay upright and finish these races, he could be a legitimate Supercross champion. But this is Travis Pastrana we're talking about. He doesn't do dial down. And when the outdoor season began that year, that crash fest would continue. Travis would crash out of the opening 2 rounds, and it was apparent that he was still struggling with a lot of injuries from the Supercross season. And to top it off, the final crash that he suffered at Hangtown ended his 2000 outdoor season before it ever got started. And just like it was with his Supercross campaign, Travis definitely has the speed. It's the consistency part that he needs to work on. But hey, the kid's still young and he's got the entire world in front of him. But even though his 2002 racing season has come to a premature end, there's still enough time left in the summer for some freestyle motocross. As the two premier action sports festivals, the Gravity Games and X Games, are quickly approaching. And the big talk for action sports fans that year is, will we finally get to see the holy grail of freestyle motocross tricks, the coveted backflip? Ever since Carey Hart proved to the world that a dirt bike could be backflipped when he attempted the trick at the 2000 Gravity Games, a trick that unfortunately he didn't land, the action sports world was begging for someone to do that trick again and write it out. And who better to give it a shot than Travis Pastrana? And according to the internet, and when I mean internet in 2002, I mean MySpace, random AOL chat rooms, and motorcycle message boards, man were those the days, the word was Travis could do the backflip. But not only was Travis's name getting tossed around, so was Mike Metzger's. In fact, ESPN had sent a film crew out to Mike Metzger's house to verify the claim, and if he would be doing that trick at Summer X Games. And the answer was yes he can, and yes he will. So come the 2002 Gravity Games, the stage is set for Travis Pastrana and Mike Metzger to show the world some backflips. And man, those two guys went on a flipping frenzy. They must have done 10 flips each per run. And not only that, by the end of the session, they started throwing variations on these flips. Now, I can't tell you in words how epic and insane this was for these two guys to take what was believed to be the impossible stunt in early of 2002 to making it look easy just 6 months later. Now, Travis won that contest, remaining undefeated in competition when Mike Metzger crashed on his final run. But nonetheless, the bar had been raised big time, and the backflip was now a must-do trick if you wanted to stay relevant in freestyle motocross. Now the stage is set for the epic rematch in just 2 weeks' time at ESPN's X Games. However, Travis would get hurt practicing freestyle motocross, and Mike Metzger would easily take the gold medal in Travis's absence. Later that year, Travis would turn 18 years old, and to celebrate being an official adult, he would jump his motorcycle into the Grand Canyon and base jump off the back of it with a parachute, again continuing to push the envelope at a rapid pace. This would again start to draw questions about Travis's choices and where his focus lies. Does he want to be a racer, or does he want to be a freestyle motocrosser? And he knows he must make a choice soon because his grueling travel and training schedule and the preparation he has to go through to compete at such a high level in two different motorcycle disciplines has not only left him mentally and physically drained, he's now suffering from the Epstein-Barr virus. And for Travis, the choice is not so easy because he's the only rider on the planet who has elite skills in both disciplines. Nonetheless, he must make a choice. And for 2003, the choice would be racing. So he decides to give everything that he has towards winning a Supercross title in the Premier class. He hires a live-in trainer by the name of Todd Jacobs, and they get to work. And for 8 months, Travis goes all in on training. And by the time the 2003 Supercross season is ready to get underway, Travis is in the best physical and mental shape of his life. And the optimism is at an all-time high in the Pastrana camp. This is his year. His time is now. But all of that optimism, all of the hopes, dreams, aspirations, and 8 months of intense training would be destroyed in a matter of seconds when 6 days before the season opener at Anaheim, Travis would attempt a huge step up at Castillo Ranch. The jump would go horribly wrong, bucking him off of his motorcycle in midair, which seems to be a good 20 feet off of the ground. And on the landing, Travis would dislocate his kneecap, tear his meniscus, suffer a tibia plateau fracture, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But Travis, being Travis, shows up at the opening round in Anaheim with a knee that's like spaghetti and a leg fracture and tries to give it a go. How he got on a motorcycle in that condition defies human evolution. But the pain was just too much even for Travis to finish the evening. He would try again the following week at Phoenix and somehow squeak out a 12th place finish with only one leg, but the injury was just too much, and Travis would have to withdraw from the series. To say this was a disappointment for Travis, his inner circle, and Suzuki is a major understatement, because Travis wouldn't just miss the 2003 Supercross season. That jump effectively ended his Supercross racing career, as Travis would only race 8 professional events over the next 3 years and was far from being the Travis that we knew. He failed to finish 6 out of those 8 races, and in the 2 races that he did finish, his best placing would be a 10th at Daytona in 2004 and another 10th in Anaheim in 2005. But more on that later. Now, there's a lot of history behind that jump at Castillo Ranch. Travis had been talking about doing that jump for days, and everybody, I mean everybody, but just one person, which we'll talk about in just a second, begged him not to do it. As mentioned in Travis's documentary 199 Lives, his father calls it the $1 million jump because that's how much he believes it cost Travis. And on a recent podcast with Gypsy Tales, Travis claims he knew immediately that when he hit that jump, his Supercross career was over. And the one person that talked him into doing it is none other than Ronnie Mack. It's a great interview if you ever get the chance to see it. So yet again, Travis finds himself right back at square one with another choice. Does he rehab the knee and go through all of that training again and try to come back in 2004 stronger? If so, obviously, he has to let go of freestyle motocross. Or does he leave the sport of racing that he was groomed to compete in ever since he was age 5, a sport he was supposed to carry into a new generation? It's a tough choice. But I think this time around, the decision was a lot more clear. While Travis loves racing, his heart belongs to freestyle motocross. That's where he wants to be. That explains why he has this unrelenting desire to perform such extreme stunts with such extreme consequences. It's what he is. It's his reason for being. He is obsessed with pushing the limits, and that's why most of us can't make sense of some of his choices, because we are not on that level. And while it seems insane to abandon a lucrative racing career for the more unestablished sport at the time of freestyle motocross, I think Travis believes in himself. He knows he's a larger-than-life personality, and he could make freestyle motocross and action sports more lucrative and more popular than motocross racing, and that's exactly what he would do. Later that year, he would win his 4th gold medal at the XGames in an epic showdown with Brian Deegan. They both would whip out the previously unseen 360 trick that evening, and Travis would eke out a controversial gold, but the contest itself was legendary. It was what freestyle motocross is all about. Because Travis Pastrana and Brian Deegan again elevated the sport with a groundbreaking trick. And the bar continues to be raised at a rapid pace. In fact, it's getting quite scary to see how far they have pushed the sport in just a few short years. And the sport continues its meteoric rise in popularity. Later that year, Travis, along with Andy Edwards, Michael Pora, Greg Godfrey, and Jeremy Rawle, would create the Nitro Circus, which was comprised of a group of Travis's closest friends and family doing crazy stunts. It was like a combination of Jackass meets Crusty Demons of Dirt, and they published these stunts and antics to a DVD and started selling quite a bit of them. But something big was about to happen that only would enhance the legend of Travis Pastrana. Back in 2001, one of Travis's sponsors, Alpinestars, hooked him up with a test drive in a Subaru World Rally car as a gift for winning the 125 Motocross Championship. Travis had such a good time that day in the car that he expressed an interest in driving rally one day. So in 2003, a place called Vermont Sports Car, who runs a rally car prep shop and race team management facility in North America, contacted Travis to see if he wanted another go at a rally car. And of course Travis wants another go. So they let him test the car, and they were so impressed with his driving skills, Vermont Sports Car started working with Travis, his management, and sponsors on a plan to enter him into some rally events in 2004. Now, in 2004, Travis would only compete in 3 Supercross events: Daytona, St. Louis, and Las Vegas. He would finish 10th at Daytona and fail to finish the other 2. But I don't think Travis showed up at these races for results. I think he showed up to entertain the fans because he used most of the practice sessions and warm-up sessions to perform backflips. He would compete in the X Games later that year and sustain a concussion in his first run, but somehow managed to compete the next day and would win a silver medal. Nate Adams would take the gold, making him the first rider ever to beat Travis in a freestyle motocross contest. Travis also did a few rally events that year with Subaru, and although at first there was kind of this animosity towards him from hardcore rally enthusiasts because they believed he was just a sideshow, it wouldn't take long for Travis to win them over with his driving skills. And with only about 1 year of total rally racing experience, Travis was already hanging with some of the nation's best rally car drivers. He was a natural in a car. Now, when 2005 started, Travis competed in just 3 Supercross rounds again: Anaheim, Phoenix, and Irving, Texas, with his best finish being a 10th place at Anaheim and a DNF in Phoenix and Texas. But again, I think Travis is there just to do backflips and entertain people. But hey, I'm okay with that. And what's really impressive is to think here's a guy who isn't training for Supercross at all and probably isn't riding a motorcycle as much as he used to, yet he can show up to a Supercross race and squeeze out a top 10 finish against some of the best riders on the planet. I mean, that's just astonishing. He would also win his 5th X Games gold medal in freestyle motocross that summer and compete in a rally car event with hand controls because he broke his leg while practicing for freestyle. Again, showing this man has no limitations. At this point in Travis's career, he has helped elevate the once obscure sport of freestyle motocross into the mainstream. And the X Games are now drawing viewership numbers that put it on par with major sporting events worldwide. ESPN estimated that in 2005, as much as 250,000 people showed up in Los Angeles to cheer on their favorite action sports athlete. And the event aired live on ESPN and ABC in more than 75 countries with an estimated viewership of close to 1 million people. And without question, one of the X Games' most popular athletes is Travis Pastrana. And at this point in time, he is probably the most famous dirt biker alive. He starts appearing on talk shows, commercials, and even does a few movie cameos. But Travis is about to do something that would etch his name in the history books as the greatest freestyle motocrosser of all time, and arguably the greatest action sports athlete that has ever lived, when he would do the unthinkable, the unfathomable, the double backflip. Going into the 2006 X Games, the word was out that Travis was going to attempt the double backflip. And at that time, the double backflip didn't even sound like it was possible. I mean, just a few years ago, we were wondering if you could even do a backflip, and now we're talking about a double backflip? Seriously? So the word spreads fast, and by the time we reach the 2006 X Games, the big story is for sure Travis Pastrana and the backflip. Now, every so often in the world of sports, the right moment comes along at the right time, where the stakes are so high that the entire world is watching. And in that moment, some team or some individual will step up and deliver a historical performance so clutch that you will never forget where you were when you saw it. And the sheer mention of that event will give you goosebumps forever. The miracle on ice. Tiger Woods' 1997 Masters victory, David Tyree's Super Bowl catch. These moments live forever. And for action sports, this is that moment, because everyone knows what the stakes are. Because the double backflip is a trick that can kill you. It's a trick so dangerous the craziest freestyle motocrossers in the world at the time are not even considering. It's a trick that even the casual fan knows is dangerous. So when the media confronts Travis and they ask him if he's serious about doing the double backflip, his answer is that he's scared to do the trick and he's not sure he can even pull it off, but he believes it's doable, so he's gonna do it. And well, you know the Pastrana rule. If you say you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. And when the event starts, you can feel it in the air. The world just smells different. And it's a standing room only crowd inside of the Staples Center. And the tension increases when reporters start shoving microphones in Travis's mom's face saying, "Do you know your son can die doing this trick? I mean, poor thing, how can she even stay composed like this?" But she answers like she always has answered. Travis can do whatever Travis wants. God bless the Pastranas. Now backstage, the concern for his safety intensifies when the X Game organizers start trying to talk Travis out of doing this jump. They're afraid that he might die on live television, but they don't know the Pastranas. He already said he's going to do it, and you cannot change his mind. And as Travis boards the staging ramp and we realize this is the point of no return, and this trick is about to go down, the crowd starts going nuts. The announcers are freaking out. Other X Games athletes are nervous. The camera pans to people in the crowd who are biting their nails and covering their eyes. Everyone watching is scared shitless. I can't imagine how Travis must feel. And then right as Travis is about ready to hit the jump, the announcers inform us that Travis gave his last words to his mom, which were, "I love you, Mom. If anything happens to me, know I'm doing what I love." Damn, this is getting serious. Now the time has come. There is no turning back for Travis, and this is how it went.
It is time for history. If you are not standing up at home, I would get off the couch. Every rider in the house is watching. The world is watching as Travis Pastrana, everybody in this house, is now standing up and cheering on the 199. Go Travis! Kidding me? How many times can you find the Holy Grail in one building? A double backflip from Travis Pastrana.
Every time I see that, I still get emotional. Especially the part where Travis hugs his mom, who finally, after all this, can take a deep breath. And he tells her that he's sorry he put her through such stress. It's a touching moment between the two that shows us the uncomfortable side of parenting, where supporting your child in the pursuit of their dreams may be the right thing to do. It's not always the easiest to do. And it's a moment for a son who's aware of the struggles his parents have gone through to take a moment to show his gratitude. And if that wasn't enough, just a few days later, Travis would go out and win the inaugural rallycross event at the X Games against some of the sport's greatest names like Colin McRae, Ken Block, and Tanner Faust, proving that he's no joke in a rally car and capping off one of the most historical X Games performances ever. But for Travis Pastrana, this was more than just a trick. It was a trick that launched him into superstardom that far exceeded what he could have ever achieved in motocross racing. It was a trick that catapulted freestyle motocross into a sport that surpassed the popularity of motocross, and it was a trick that quite frankly made Travis Pastrana rich. In 2007, Pastrana co-authored a book about his life called The Big Jump. In 2008, ESPN made a documentary about him called 199 Lives. In 2009, the Nitro Circus was turned into an MTV series that featured Travis and his friends like Street Bike Tommy, Andy Bell, Jolene Van Vutt, Jim DeChamp, Special Greg, Eric Ronner, Greg Godfrey, and Jeremy Rawl doing jackass-style stunts on dirt bikes. And in 2012, they turned the Nitro Circus into a full-featured film that was shown in theaters. That trick also opened the door for opportunity in rally car, as Travis would go on and win 4 straight Rally America championships from 2006 to 2009. And in the 18 years since Travis has done the double backflip, he has continued to perform some of the most outrageous stunts that we have ever seen, and he has lived a life that resembles more of folklore than it does of reality. He has had city streets and neighborhoods shut down for him to perform New Year's Eve stunts like jumping Caesar's Fountain in Evel Knievel gear and jumping rally cars over big bodies of water. He's appeared in a handful of Gymkhana films, he's raced power boats, and he even served as a judge coverage on America's Got Talent Extreme Edition. And sure, Travis continues to injure himself by doing these stunts. Recently, he broke his pelvis in a base jumping incident, his knees are shot, and he's currently on stem cell therapy. But do you think that any of this has slowed him down at all? Not a chance. In fact, now that he's married to action sports star Lindsay Adams and they have 2 young daughters, you will often see Travis taking a page from the book of his own parents by letting his daughters live outside of the box. And from the looks of it, his daughters are cut from the same cloth as they look to be thrill seekers themselves. So good for them and good for Travis. So basically, Travis Pastrana has lived more than 199 lives. He has done so much with the time that he has been given on this earth that there is no way I could ever mention all the things that he has done in this video. And when I look back on his career, it is hard to find anyone who has achieved so much in so many different disciplines. He's done so much in the world of action sports, it's easy to forget how good of a motocross racer that he was. This guy was a top 5 professional that raced in a godlike era that included guys like Jeremy McGrath, Chad Reed, James Stewart, and Ricky Carmichael. And while he didn't win a premier class event, I believe if Travis gave motocross 100%, he could have gone toe-to-toe with these guys. And when it comes to freestyle motocross, he is without question the greatest of all time. Freestyle motocross wouldn't be anywhere close to where it is today if Travis Pastrana wasn't in it. There are many words someone may use to define Travis Pastrana, like talented, insane, crazy, skilled, respected, or even nuts. And depending on what it is we're talking about, any of those could be accurate descriptions. But the word I would like to use is legit. Travis Pastrana is legit because he has spent every day of his life being Travis Pastrana, staying true to what he is, whether anyone agrees with him or not. Because for many of us in this world, we have been untrue to ourselves. We have not pursued our dreams out of fear or failure. We have not done the things that we said we were going to do in life, and we continue to waste these precious moments that we have here on earth, making excuses for why we can't or why we won't do what it is that we feel in our hearts. We say things like, hopefully one day I'll get to do that, or maybe I'll get the chance to do this. But not Travis Pastrana. He's woke up every day of his life, scratching off the to-dos from his bucket list, then rewriting a new list. And every night when Travis looks in the mirror before he goes to bed, he can say, I am living the dream. I'm doing exactly what it is I was put on this earth to do, and I am fulfilled. And not many of us can say that. And that's why Travis Pastrana is legit.